Hello and welcome. When you think of a country's constitution, what comes to mind? Maybe some old, dusty document locked away in a museum? Well, today we're going to talk about India's constitution, and it is anything but that. It's a dynamic, living system, a document that was actually designed to breathe, to adapt, and to evolve with the times.
Okay, take a look at this number, 106. Any guesses what that is? As of early 2024, that's how many times India's constitution has been amended. Think about that for a second. That's more than one change for every single year of its existence. That's a lot. And that number, 106, it really gets you thinking, doesn't it? It brings us right to the central puzzle we're tackling today. Is that a flaw or is it a feature? Does changing a foundational document that often mean it's fragile and weak? Or is it actually a sign of incredible flexibility and strength? Just how does it provide stability while constantly changing? Well, the secret, it turns out, is baked right into its design. You see, the architects of the Constitution were smart. They knew they couldn't possibly predict every single challenge a country as vast as India would face. So instead of a rigid document that could shatter under pressure, they built a framework that was meant to grow and adapt right alongside the nation. It was made to breathe. Okay, let's dive into exactly how they pulled this off.
You don't have to take my word for it. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Constitution, he absolutely hit the nail on the head. He called it a happy blend of flexibility and rigidity. That word, happy, is so important here. It tells you this adaptability wasn't an accident. It was a core feature, put there on purpose. The goal was to make it amendable, sure, but not so easy that it could be changed on a whim. So that brings us to the big question. How exactly does it change? The best way to think about it is like a toolkit. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to hang a small picture frame, right? The amendment process works the same way. It has different tools for different kinds of jobs because, well, not all changes are created equal. It's basically a three-tiered system. First up, you have your simple majority. This is for the smaller stuff, the administrative tweaks, like changing state boundaries. It's about as straightforward as passing any regular law. But then for the really significant changes, we're talking about altering things like the fundamental rights of citizens. You need a much heavier tool, a special majority. That's a 2/3 vote in Parliament, a much higher bar. And then there's the top tier. For any change that affects the fundamental power-sharing balance between the national government and the states, you need that special majority, plus you have to get at least half of India's state legislatures to approve it. That is a serious hurdle to clear. And that last point, about getting the states to agree, leads us straight into the next brilliant feature of the Constitution, federalism. I mean, just think about India for a moment. It's mind-bogglingly diverse. So many languages, cultures, and regions. There was just no way it could be run effectively from one central command post. So the Constitution divides power, creating a system where both the national and state governments have their own turf, their own areas of authority. But India's system isn't your standard textbook federalism. It's often called Quasi-Federal, which is just a fancy way of saying its unique mix with features of both a centralized system and a federal one. This slide shows that balancing act perfectly. On one side, you have features that create a strong central government, like single citizenship for all and powerful emergency powers. But on the other, you have classic federal features, like a clear division of who can make laws about what and an independent judiciary to act as the umpire. It's a blend that's really designed for unity and diversity. And this isn't just theory. You can see this toolkit in action throughout India's history. Right at the very beginning, in 1951, the First Amendment was needed to push through crucial land reforms. Fast forward to the mid-70s, and the 42nd and 44th Amendments show the nation grappling with the controversial emergency period and the later efforts to restore democratic checks and balances. Then in the 90s, the focus shifted to the grassroots, with amendments to empower local village and city governments. And more recently, the 106th Amendment tackled gender disparity by reserving seats for women, a huge move that had been debated for decades. Okay, so Parliament has this massive power to adapt the Constitution. But hold on a second. What's to stop a government with a huge majority from just going wild, from completely rewriting the rule book to suit their own agenda? Is there a line that absolutely under no circumstances can be crossed? The answer is a big, emphatic yes. There is a line. And this, for me, is where the story gets really fascinating. This is where the Indian Supreme Court stepped in and essentially created an ultimate firewall, a safeguard for the very soul of the Constitution. It's a powerful concept called the Basic Structure Doctrine. In a landmark case back in 1973, the Supreme Court declared that while Parliament could change the Constitution, it could not destroy its fundamental identity. The analogy is perfect. Parliament can renovate the house, maybe add a new wing, but it cannot demolish the foundation.
So what's in this unbreakable core, this foundation? Well, it's the really big stuff. Things like the supremacy of the Constitution itself, the federal and secular character of the nation, the principles of democracy, the separation of powers between different branches of government, and the power of courts to review laws. These are the pillars. They are considered permanent, protected from any amendment. They are non-negotiable. So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see this truly remarkable system emerge. It's this constant, dynamic balancing act, this dance between the need to change and the need to preserve. So if there's one key takeaway from all of this, it's this three-part formula. You have flexibility, thanks to those amendment procedures that allow the country to respond to new realities. You have stability, which comes from federalism, managing India's incredible diversity. And finally, you have security, which is the Basic Structure Doctrine, acting as a guarantee that no matter what changes, those core democratic values remain untouched. And this all leaves us with one final big thought. The Indian Constitution has proven its resilience for over 7 decades. But as new and massive challenges arise, we're talking about everything from climate change to artificial intelligence to shifting global politics, which part of this incredible living document will be put to the test next? That's a question that every single generation of Indians will have to answer. Thanks for joining me.